Hi everyone, bienvenidos. Welcome to my 6th episode of Charlemos Juntas. I am your host, Amy Villarreal. Today I have a special guest, Isabel. Hi, Isabel.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am 28. I am a bartender at a local restaurant here in Austin called Serrano's. Currently in school at Austin Community College. You know, just kind of chilling, figuring my life out, whatnot. But that's about it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I know that we just met like 20 minutes ago.
Literally.
You're my first, I guess, surprise guest.
Right?
I guess I could call it. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about your struggle through the language barrier. I want to talk a little bit about your family and your upbringing and everything you've experienced along the way. So tell me a little bit about your family.
So I was raised with a single mother. She is from Panama. She came to the States when she was like 17, got married, got divorced, all that, got pregnant. Father just kind of dipped, wasn't in the picture. So she raised me all by herself, which I admire a lot because that is just something I will never understand because I was born here. So I'm not an immigrant. But I can't even imagine, like, being in her shoes and not having a lot of family here, not having any help, not knowing the culture here in the States, especially from a Central American country. So that was kind of it. It was just me and her my entire life, and we moved around a lot. She kind of moved wherever she can get work, make money, because, again, she had no, like, government help or anything like that. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. So.
Yeah, because she's coming into a whole new country where, you know, the majority of people are going to speak English. And so she's having to navigate life through all these obstacles of doing it on her own and not speaking the language.
Well, luckily she did know English.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, luckily she did, but still she has a thick accent. Yeah. So people will judge you regardless, especially when you have a thick accent like that. But
yeah, that's similar to my mom. She was born in Mexico.
Okay.
And they moved. She's got quite a few siblings. I say quite a few. They were 13 total.
Dang.
But so by the time she was moving to Texas with her parents, she had siblings that were already married, already living here. So she was 9, I think, whenever they came and moved to Texas. But she was super young. She was able to go to school and learn the language, but she did experience, you know, some bullying in school, and she knows English. She can speak it, but she has a thick accent too. You know, regardless, she was 9 years old. Regardless, sometimes you just you have an accent, and it kind of it makes you stand out, but I don't know. I've always thought, you know, she speaks perfect English. The accent doesn't matter. Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
It's fine.
So, you did say that your mom has always known how to speak English. Did you learn English at home, or was Spanish your first language?
So Spanish was actually my first language, just because my mom does have a sister. She ended up coming to the States a few years later. But so it was my mom and my tia for a minute there. But yeah, Spanish was my first language. I didn't really learn English till I was about 5. And I started going to public school.
Okay.
And I went to public school in like Houston. Like we lived in Houston for a little bit. And with being very fair-skinned, a lot of kids would make fun of me. And at the time, I went by my first name, which is Luz.
Okay.
So going by Luz, not knowing barely any English, looking like a little white girl.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not. I just wasn't in the oven long enough. Kids are mean. And at that age, I didn't really understand, I was like, I don't know why nobody wants to be my friend. Like, I don't understand what they're saying. Like,
yeah.
So my mom was teaching me English at home, but I wasn't in any and I wish I was. I don't know why I wasn't, but I wasn't in like an ESL class or anything like that.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Can't explain it. But after a while, I got picked on by all my classmates. They would always call me Louise because they couldn't say loose or loser.
Oh my God.
Kids are so mean.
They're mean.
I'm like, oh. So then around second grade, I started going by Isabel because it's just easier and people would be like, oh, Isabel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is my middle name. That's my one of my great aunt's names. She unfortunately passed whenever my mom was pregnant.
Oh.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I don't know, I just stopped speaking Spanish and just only strictly spoke English till I was a teenager because I felt ashamed.
Yeah.
Which I hate saying that, but I did, I felt ashamed of knowing Spanish. I felt ashamed of being Latina, but I didn't know,
Yeah.
I didn't know better. As I got older and learning about my culture, and then my first boyfriends, they were all Mexican, so learning how to speak Spanish with their families, I was like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. But it just sucks as I've gotten older that at such a young age I had that shame of who I was as a person, wishing I was somebody else or wishing I was from a different culture or different ethnicity just because I got bullied. Now I'm like, y'all were just haters.
Yeah, kids are mean, and it's funny because I finally have picked up some color, but I've always been super pale and just on the lighter side, and my parents and my siblings, they're all tan, they're all darker skinned, so it's okay, what happened to me,
right?
And but it's crazy how you experienced it a different way, because a lot of people talk about experiencing bullying and racism because they don't speak the language, but because of the color of their skin. But for you, it was them finding a reason to bully you because you were someone that didn't speak English, but also someone that I guess didn't fit the profile for them.
No, exactly. I wasn't, you could stereotype, I wasn't tan enough, And then as I got older, I would say maybe 5th, 6th through 8th grade, it was hard to fit in with the Hispanic kids or Latino kids because they didn't want to accept me just because I wasn't the same skin tone, which it's it all just sounds so dumb to talk about, but I don't know. We were all kids. Who knew? Everybody had their own judgment at the time.
Yeah.
But now I'm now you can be a little bit lighter and be Latina. We all come in all sorts of colors, different hair colors. My cousin, she has blonde hair. Yeah. And we're the same color. And we have essentially the same background. Her dad is Mexican. My tia is Panamanian, and my tia and my mom, they're both half white. But their father wasn't in the picture. So they grew up in Panama. So but we're pale.
Yeah. Yeah, it really just depends. It depends on where your lineage comes from. I have tias that were on the lighter side, and they I look like them more when it comes to the skin. And then I've got other tias who are a little more morenitas. So it being a Latino does not put you in the same category for skin color.
No, exactly.
With so many, I mean, I had a friend that I grew up with that she has blonde hair. She has blonde hair, colored eyes. I think we're like hazel or something. I have a younger cousin who's her parents, she's a second cousin. Her parents are both Mexican. But you look at her, she doesn't look Hispanic in any way. Her hair is like a dirty blonde. Her eyes are blue. So, you know, and then of course, as the generations pass, they don't learn Spanish. So you couldn't guess just from looking at her.
No, exactly.
So, but it's crazy how, I don't think I personally experienced that as a kid, but like how you felt isolated from those that were, you know, white, but also those that were Latinos because you looked a little different.
Me and my mom, we moved around a lot. So I went to like 4 different elementary schools here in like in the surrounding area, Austin or whatever. So I feel like just depending which part of the like city, town I was in, like I went to I'm trying to think. I went to an elementary school in Leander, Texas called Knowles Elementary. I don't even know if that school still exists, but I was there for like 2nd grade, and I would say it was a more prominently white school. Like I don't really remember seeing a lot of Latino kids or black kids or Asian kids. I think it was like mainly white kids. I was there for a little bit. So there, like at that time, I actually spoke English pretty well. So it wasn't really a bad time there.
Yeah.
When I was in 3rd grade, I went to a school called Brook Hollow in Pflugerville, and I don't really remember. I think it was prominently white, maybe more white and more like black kids or African American kids. I don't really remember a lot of Hispanic kids there. It wasn't until I went to school, like from 4th through 5th grade, I went to this elementary school off of Rumberg Lane, and that's a very more prominently Latino area in Austin, like that North Austin area. And there is where I felt more of a struggle of fitting in with the Latino kids because I didn't look like them. Even though we have like the same kind of blood or whatever, or same background, I didn't look like them. So that was a really hard time because I didn't really have any friends. And even the girls that kind of looked like me, I remember actually these 2 girls, they were like the popular girls, and they looked like me. Like they were pale, dark hair, you know. I think one, her name was like Jackie, and the other one, I don't remember her name. Whatever. Irrelevant. But they were like so mean to me. And I was like, we look the same. But you know, that was a hard time at that age, especially like we're all going through like puberty and we're all like getting into our emotions and stuff like that. So it was really lonely at that time. I don't really think I had any friends.
So you experienced it at a school with more people like you than these schools with nobody like you. And so that's the reason why you decided to, one of the reasons why at the beginning of starting school you decided to just stop speaking Spanish and trying to fit in because...
And then it's like when I didn't speak any Spanish and then going to a prominently like Latino student-based school, it's like, oh crap, I don't fit in now either. God. What do I do?
So it's one thing or the other. It was a struggle regardless.
I think like once I got like into like high school and like middle school, like that all kind of shifted, you know. I think we're all a little bit smarter, we're all a little bit older, it doesn't really matter anymore. But like when we're all like kids, it did suck, but I'm fine. I'm okay.
It helped you become the person that you are. It really...
I think I definitely have like a thick skin. Is that
because of it?
Like I'm like, you can say something to me now and I'm like, I don't care.
Go ahead. Go off. That makes sense because you went through it, you experienced it, and you learned from it. Now people can't they can't hurt you with their words, with their actions.
Period.
So as an adult, so do you speak Spanish now?
Yes. It's not that good. Pero sí puedo hablar español.
See, there you go.
It wasn't until I started working at the restaurant I work at, like, you know, a lot of the back of the house employees mainly speak Spanish. And when I first started, I remember talking to one of the bus ladies. I was like, hey, ayúdame, si no estoy diciendo algo bien, just like let me know, correct me. Like, I want to be able to have a fluent conversation with somebody. And you know, also like working in like a healthcare field, if you speak Spanish, you get paid a little bit more. And it's also, as I've gotten older, I don't feel ashamed anymore. You know, like I'm a proud Latina woman. But I do wish sometimes my Spanish was better. But I'm learning. I'm still learning, you know.
I don't think we'll ever stop learning. So for me, Spanish was my first language too, because my dad didn't speak any English and my mom did, but she wanted us to know how to speak Spanish. So I also learned English when I started school, but for some reason my mom talks about how I wanted to go to school when I was 3. I don't know why, because I remember asking her one day, I'm like, why did you put me in school at 3 years old? I have been going to school since I was 3. And she looked at me, she's like, you wanted to go. And I think it's because my sister had started, because we're like a year and 9 months apart. So she was always 1 grade above me, and so she started, and so I wanted to go.
I want to be like her.
Yeah, I want to do what she's doing. So we went to this little Head Start. It was before pre-K and kindergarten.
Okay.
For you had to be like a low income family. So that's where I started learning English. And I don't know, you spend so much of your life in school that, you might speak Spanish at home, but you are at school more than you are at home throughout the majority of the year. So you don't speak Spanish as much as you would maybe want to. So my Spanish isn't perfect. I've spoken Spanish my entire life, but English has dominated, and it's my strongest language.
No, literally.
Which is strange, but you know, what can you do? I'm still learning. I still learn new words. And
that's funny, like with me and my mom talk, like she'll speak to me in Spanish and I'm like, yes mom. Speaking in straight English to her, and I'm like girl, speak in Spanish.
I know, I try that with my mom too, but that whole like you're comfortable with just jumping back and forth.
Exactly. I feel like when you're like with some, like your parent, like they get you, you're in a comfortable setting, you don't feel like you have to try, you know. At least I don't.
No, I feel like that with my mom too, because she knows what I'm saying, and she'll respond in Spanish. I'll mix it in because I'll talk Spanish and then I run out of words. So I'm like, all right, switching it back to English. Literally. But with my dad it's different, because I remember, you know, I'd say something and I'd say it in English and he'd look at me like, nah, pues no te
¿Qué estás diciendo, mija? ¿Qué estás diciendo? No entiendo.
So that's kind of another reason why I've always wanted to continue practicing, because, you know, my dad, he understands a lot of it and he speaks some, but he's got a thicker accent than my mom does. And I, you know, if I tried to have a conversation with him in just English, he's not going to be able to keep up. So I'm like, I have the ability to speak Spanish. I need to continue that conversation in Spanish with him.
Exactly.
You know, I never want to not be able to communicate, you know, with my dad.
You know, I had a funny situation that happened to me at work. It was actually yesterday. So I was taking care of this table and they only spoke Spanish, and they've come in before, so I'm like, hola, ¿cómo están? Like, you know, taking care of them. And then the lady, she ordered some nachos and she was like, quiero el pollo muy dorado. And I was like, okay. So I go up to one of the girls I work with and I was like, what does that mean? ¿Quieres muy dorado? Is that crispy? and it wasn't like necessarily crispy, but maybe more like toasted, I guess is like what she tried to say. And then the guys that cook in the back, you know, like when we're sending in an order, you can kind of type in a note on like to specify something.
Okay.
And I didn't want to say like more toasted because I don't think they
would understand.
So I was like asking her, because I was like, how do I spell that? Because then I had like a realization yesterday. I was like, oh crap, I don't know how to write in Spanish. You know that, I realized that yesterday. I was like, I don't know how to write in Spanish. I don't even know if I know how to read in Spanish. And so I asked my coworker, and she helped me, and I was like, damn, I don't know. And she was like, well, at least you're trying though. And I was like, period.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, I'm gonna go take a class now to like learn how to write in Spanish.
Learn how to read and write. The only reason I know is because my parents would ship us off to Mexico every summer. So because they couldn't afford childcare, and I had a tia that lived over there at the time. And so I remember she'd sit us down and we'd write sentences over and over in Spanish. That's one of the only reasons why.
It's like stuck in your brain.
The other day I was actually at Barnes & Noble and I was in the Spanish section. And I was telling my boyfriend that I really want to buy more books in Spanish so that I can read them. Now, is it going to take me freaking forever to get through a sentence? Probably. But, like, I just feel like it would help you keep the language going in your brain. Yeah, because my boyfriend doesn't speak Spanish, and so we never really speak Spanish.
Is he Mexican?
He's half Mexican, half white. So his mom is white, and he was raised by his mom. You look at him, he looks full Mexican. So anytime somebody approaches us and they're speaking Spanish, they don't even think to look at me.
Look at him.
They look at him, and he's looking at them like,
no entiendo.
No entiendo. So he's learning from me a little bit, but you know, I don't speak it. I don't have conversations with him in Spanish. So
I mean, like, why would you?
Exactly. So I'm like, I've got to keep my Spanish going somehow, but it's hard. But so working at this Tex-Mex place, you talked about, you know, having customers that speak Spanish. Have you ever experienced a little bit of, like, I guess I wouldn't say hate, but like people that kind of looked at you funny or looked at you a weird way for maybe saying something wrong in Spanish or anything like that?
Actually, surprisingly, no. Like, I feel like a lot of, like, especially like when I first started there and kind of relearning Spanish, like in my early 20s, I would always like let my tables know, like, hey, like in Spanish, like, I don't really know, but like let me know, like blah blah blah. Almost everybody I've talked to has always been very, very nice, very sweet. I've only ever had one bad interaction with people, and they were also just really drunk too, which didn't help. But like they were flight attendant, they were airline people. They were here for a couple days. I don't really know where they were from. I think they were from like Venezuela or Colombia. I don't know. I can't remember. This was a couple years ago. But like at the end of the night, like they saw their ticket and they got like really upset of how much it was. I'm like, y'all had like 5 margaritas each. Like, of course it's going to be almost $100. Like, what? And then the girl, like, she got like so upset at me at the end. She was like, you don't even speak Spanish. No hablas español. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, bitch. I was like, I haven't been speaking Spanish the entire time, but okay. But, you know, they were just rude. They were drunk, whatever. I think that's the only ever time I've had anything like that. But I have dealt with, when I used to work at a dentist's office, this was years ago, like this was during the first Trump election.
Okay.
So back in 2016 when that was going on. I worked at this office in Bastrop, and I worked with a lot of Latina women. We all different colors and all of that. I was the lighter one. There was one more who was like the same skin tone as me, and then the other like 3 girls I worked with were a little bit tanner. We had this patient, and this has nothing to do with our language. It was just based on how we look. This patient comes in, and it was right after Trump had gotten elected. So sad day for all of us, right? He comes into the office, and we worked for a white doctor, but he was amazing for actually telling this patient he couldn't come back.
Oh, wow.
So basically this patient comes in and we're all by the front. It's a slow day. He's looking at all of us and he like points us out. He points at one of the girls who's Mexican, was like, "You're not going to be okay." Points to the other girl, "You're not going to be okay." Points at me and the other girl, or lighter, "You guys will be okay. You guys will be okay." Just by pure judgment of skin color, not knowing anything about us. And we were just like, what the F? Like, what? So we told the doctor like what this guy just did. He's literally just being openly racist to us, to the girls, and our doctor was like, "You can't, like, don't come back to this practice."
Oh my God,
bro! Like that, I think that was like, even though it wasn't like towards me, but it was towards my coworkers.
Yeah.
Like, what? You are literally just being openly and just being rude about skin color. Like, really?
Oh my God.
Just because of the election. But it
was like, was there any context?
No, literally no context. He walked in and said that. Didn't even say hi.
So like, yeah, so like, like it confirms the fact that, him winning that election really did something, and like he felt like he was at liberty to walk in there and say, because of your skin color, you are not going to be okay in this country anymore.
Literally
makes you want to go find him and be like, what was that?
I feel like, especially during that era, like now that we think about it, that's almost 10 years ago. I mean, it's 2024.
Yeah,
that's 8 years ago. Yeah. So that's still a long time. But like, I remember that time, like I was like 18, 19 years old and going like through all of that. I remember at the time I was dating a Mexican guy and he was very, very tan, and going on dates and going in public, people would treat him like so nasty, and like me like nothing, just because I look white. Like, y'all are like, at the end of the day, just so it shows how close-minded people are.
Yeah.
Like, you're just going on skin color.
Yeah.
Like, I can go get a tan if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to.
Yeah. You can tell that it's always just the judgment they make whenever they look at you. Yeah, because I've experienced that too, where like, because of the color of my skin, I haven't experienced anywhere near as bad as other people, just because of that difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my boyfriend, he's darker skin, and so he talks about how he's experienced racism, and his name is Tyler. So when they hear his name,
and they see him,
yeah. Like, so like if they're just meeting him by name, he talks about how it's not usually an issue, but like then they'll hear his last name, which is Chavez, or they'll see him and all of a sudden they've created this judgment about him. And he was raised by his mother, who is white, and he doesn't speak Spanish, and he's barely, like with me, feeling more connected to his Mexican heritage. Before then, he didn't really. And so it's like you're literally like attacking somebody that is half Mexican, half white, and only because you've assumed what he is by the way that he looks.
It's just, to me, I will always find it just, I will never get over how close-minded people are, just like not open to anything. Like, it just mind boggles me until this day. Like, I meet so many people that will say some weird remarks, and it can be about any race, any culture, whatever, and I'm just like, shut up. Like, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
and unfortunately it's like both ways. You don't always experience it from white people. Like, you can't just say, yeah, it's always white people. It's not always white people.
Even in like the Latino culture, like I had an uncle who was very much like anti-African people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a very common, I hate to say it, but it's a very common thing in like Latino culture. Like there's a lot of colorism too that plays a big part. Like I had a friend, we're not really friends anymore, but she would talk about that, like her, like if you were lighter you were better than somebody who was darker, like where she grew up. And it's like, and it can happen anywhere. It happens in Indian culture, Asian culture, Hispanic culture, like it's just in African American culture, you know, like if you're lighter it's better, and that should not be a that shouldn't be a thing, but unfortunately it is. Yeah, sadly. So
yeah, because just look at I don't know if your mom ever watched like telenovelas or anything. You don't see people of color on these telenovelas that are literally from Latino countries. Like, you know, Mexico, they always had a bunch of novelas on, and it's like, where's the morenitas?
Yeah. Where's
like,
the that word.
Representation. Yeah.
I stutter. But you know, like that is true. Like, where is that? You know, I used to watch one of my favorite telenovelas was called Ruby.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that one?
She was more morenita.
Yeah, she was. So I liked her because of that. But like a lot of her other castmates, like, and then when I talk about like being different, we can all look different. One of the other characters on that show, she had light eyes, blonde hair, light skin. You know, I love that novella, by the way.
Yeah, that was good.
I rewatch it every now and then.
Do you? See, and then they did a similar one, Teresa.
Oh, yeah.
But she, you know, the cast was less colored. They were more on the light skin side. But yeah, you don't see, even within your own people, you don't see that representation for people that are, you know, darker skinned. And it's annoying. It's frustrating. It shouldn't be like that. It's like we already have to deal with people of other races attacking us and belittling us, and on top of that we've got to worry about our own.
Yeah. And I do feel like that is a huge topic that's not really discussed. I feel like a lot of people like to steer away from that, but I'm like, no, it's the truth. It's what's going on. Like that's what's happening, you know. And hopefully 10 years from now things will be different, but till it's 2024 and it's still like that. You know, there is I think now things are different. You know, there is a little bit, people are more open, people are more aware of what's going on. I feel like it's in Hollywood or whatever, I think things are changing, but that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah we're headed in the right direction.
We're getting there.
We're just not, we're not quite there yet.
Still have a long way to go.
Yeah. But well, I'm glad that for the most part the people that you've interacted with that are, you know, like us, they've been understanding, because, you know, you're open about, hey, you know, I speak it, but I'm struggling. You know,
if anything, a lot of these people, a lot of these customers I'll take care of, they're like, thank you for trying. Because I feel like maybe some of them don't realize that I'm actually Latina, and they just think I'm like a white girl.
Okay, so they're like, oh, she's doing much more effort.
And I'm just like, it's hard to explain myself to people other than just like, hey, like I speak Spanish, it's not that great, help me out. You know. But I think now, like I've been at that for that with I've been with the company for 7 years. From the beginning to now, I'm way more comfortable. So like I have a ton of regulars that prominently only speak Spanish, and they sit with me, I take care of them, and it's great. It's a good old time. But like 5 years ago, when I was still kind of relearning, like retraining myself, it was hard, but
it was difficult.
Now I'm like, soy la reina.
I love your confidence. It's good to have. So let's go back to your mom and how she came to the U.S. and did she come by herself?
So let me think. Yeah, so she got married actually. So she met a guy in Panama. She was young. She was like 16 or 17.
Okay.
She got married, I believe, in like Virginia or something like that. In one of those states where you can get married at 16. Back in like what, the late 80s, I should say. Yeah, because I was born in 95. So she probably came here in like 1988 or something like that.
Okay.
Because she was born in 71. So, yeah. So she came here, I believe, like with a visa type of thing. You know, she didn't come here illegally. You know, that's a huge topic for a lot of people. But she came here not illegally. I don't know. Whatever. Got married. But then, unfortunately, she got divorced at a very young age. She got divorced at like 21 because he ended up being like a raging alcoholic type of guy and whatever. So that's hard, you know.
Yeah.
Being 21 and divorced, like most of us are graduating college at that time, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then to figure life out after that. But yeah, no, she was like a resident. I think right now she's working on her citizenship.
Okay.
But you know, years later, doing that because it's just expensive getting your citizenship here in the States. So
yeah. So once she was divorced, then, you know, did she ever talk about like what happened to her like after all of that? So she
came after she got divorced. I think they moved to Texas, and my mom did have an aunt who lived in Texas, but not really the most supportive family member. Basically kind of just told my mom to figure it out.
Wow.
So she did. She figured it out. And then my tia ended up coming a couple years later. And then, you know, they were living together. And nowadays, I don't really think my mom and my aunt have like the best relationship anymore. I don't know. I kind of stay out of that business, you know. But they were, they had like their own apartment together in Dallas and whatnot. Just, they were both in their early 20s just trying to figure it out. My aunt was also here on a visa and all of that. And then, you know, my mom met my biological dad. I think they were dating, and then she got pregnant, and then there was all of that.
Yeah. And I can't remember if you mentioned anything about your biological father. He was also an immigrant?
So his story is almost unclear. Like,
okay.
My mom doesn't really know much about him. He's almost a mystery.
Okay.
What she has told me about him, I've only ever seen one picture of him, and he is a tall man. Very much, he looks like a Mexican guy, you know. But my mom didn't have a lot of background information on him, you know. Like, they were dating so briefly, like they didn't even really get to know each other.
Okay.
So from what she knows is he was adopted, but who knows if that's true. Don't know.
Yeah.
He was from Guerrero, Mexico, but she always thought that he kind of looked different.
Oh,
you know?
Okay.
So, like, he wasn't really ever, from my understanding, he wasn't ever, like, clear about what he is. So, he told her one time he was adopted, but, like, that's about it. So, who knows? That's a half of me that I don't really know about.
Yeah. Do you ever wonder, does it...
I used to, like, I won't lie, like, when I was younger, and I might cry. I won't. But when I was younger, I was very angry, like, about it. Like, you know, I remember being a kid and not having a father figure in my life, and, like, blaming my mother at that time. And, like, I didn't know any better. Like, you don't know when you're a kid. Like I said earlier, I will never understand what it was like to be her.
Yeah.
Because I'm not in that situation. I'm not a single mom. I don't have kids or anything like that. But I was, now that I'm older, I've gotten over it. But when I was about 18, I remember being very, very angry at him, I should say. Not even at my mom. Not at my mom. My mom's an angel. But when I was a kid, I was angry at her. But, you know, like I said, you didn't know better. When I was like like 18, I did wonder a lot. Like, I was always like, how can you make a woman pregnant and leave her and not even try, like, to reach out, help her meet your daughter? I have supposedly, one time my mom said that his actual wife called my mom. So my mom had no idea he was married.
Wow.
And he had 2 daughters. So I have like half sisters. I'm like, if y'all see this, hey, what's up, girl?
Yeah.
Let's go get some coffee. But, you know, my mom had no idea, you know, like, it's so obviously he was an older guy who took advantage of a young woman who didn't really know anything at the time. So he sucks.
Yeah.
But like I said, I was really angry for a long time about it because it was just something I couldn't comprehend. Like, how can you do that to somebody? How can you leave a woman high and dry and not even try to help her, not try to meet your daughter? Like,
yeah, absolutely no care for anybody else but themselves. But
now that I'm older, I'm like, his loss.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, that. Sorry.
That's okay. I could
F that guy.
Yeah, no, my recordings on podcasts, they're listed as explicit, so you're good. And then on YouTube, I just bleep it out.
That was so like that guy. But yeah, I'm like, now I'm like, I've gotten over it. Like, it does suck. I was one time I was talking to my boyfriend and I was like, when I get married one day, I don't have anybody to walk me down the aisle.
Yeah.
But my mom is actually married. She got married like 6 years ago, and her husband, he is amazing. He takes care of her, and he is like, even though I met him when I was
in your 20s,
in my
already.
20s, I'm like, he could be that dad I never had, and he is. Like, I'm able to talk to him and open up to him, and he has 3 sons. He's never had a daughter, so he tells me the same thing, like, oh, you're the daughter I never had. And I'm like, you're the dad I never had. And he's a good man, so like, if I do get married, he will be the one that walks me down the aisle.
Oh, he's gonna love that so much.
If my boyfriend sees this,
I'm just kidding. No, I completely understand.
Right. Where's it at?
Yeah.
Oh, I got emotional there.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm good.
Me and my sister did an episode where, oh my gosh, we cried the entire time.
Yeah. So
yeah, this podcast is open to anything and everything. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that your mom was able to persevere. You know, she had all kinds of obstacles that she had to overcome, and she just kept pushing that. You know, I guess in a way, sometimes I'm like, you know, the American dream for a lot of people just doesn't exist anymore. But especially back then, it was what kept people going, you know. It just kept them pushing forward. And then, you know, she had you, and she, you know, probably felt like she had someone to fight for.
No,
you know?
that's exactly what it was. Like, we'll talk, and now that I'm older, I think sometimes our relationship is a little bit complicated, just a lot of other factors that are going on. But like, when we talk, she's always just like, you are my proudest creation, and I do everything. Like, don't get me wrong, I've made my mistakes. Like, I've been through and back, but now that I'm older and I'm like really just trying to get a grasp of life now, I'm like, I'm not a kid, this is serious. Like, I gotta get my together. You know, I'm like, I'm doing everything like in her honor. Like, I'm at the end of the day, I'm just trying to make her proud, because she did all of that. She sacrificed so much for me that I'm like, I have to do whatever I can to make you proud, you know. And I know she's proud of me, you know. Like, from where I was 5 years ago, my life was a mess. So now, like, I'm in a much better place, you know. So
yeah, that's good. That's good, because she
love you, Mom.
Yeah, she's always gonna be proud of you and there for you, and you can be there for her now. You know, just thinking of like how we can now be there for them now that we're older, because, you know, we have, you know, sometimes we don't have like the financial means, but even just the support and being so grateful for all the sacrifices you know, that she may have had to make.
No, she's back in school now, which I'm like, oh my god, we're both in school together. She moved though, like, her and her husband, they moved over to Kingsville, so I don't get to Kingsville, Texas, which is like outside of Corpus, kind of like down there. So I don't get to see her as often. Yeah, as often as I would like. But we do talk, you know. And so, you know, she's doing good. And, you know, I think now she's in a place in her life where she doesn't have to struggle so hard or fight so hard or, like, work so hard like she was, like, raising me by herself. And I wasn't an easy child, okay? I was a little troublemaker. So I'm like, sorry.
Yeah. So she's now able to relax and settle down and take a break.
Yeah, no, literally. And, you know, she doesn't have grandkids yet.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have to worry about all that. Even if I had kids, I don't think I would like be like, Mom, watch my kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to take advantage of her like that, you know?
Even though as much as they sometimes don't want to admit, because like I remember my mom would be like, when you have kids, don't be bringing them around. I don't want to take care of them.
You know, they want to. They'll be like, mija, quiero ver mis nietos.
Yeah.
Okay, Mom.
Yeah. We're going to have to be fighting to get them back. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Moms are great. I mean, when you've got that mom that's willing to fight for you, it's so good. My mom, she, you know, I feel like they're the ones that go through the most. And, you know, my mom's had her fair share of battles through her life. And, you know, now if there's ever any moment that she feels like she's tired and, you know, just, you know, out of fight, I'm like, I got you. It's, you know, you fought throughout your entire life just to make sure that we were okay. So, you know, we've got you. You don't have to worry about anything. Yeah. Something that I like that you mentioned earlier was your relationship, and like that's something that I've been wanting to, you know, kind of dive into also on an episode. You
throw it in there.
Yeah. You can't expect relationships to be easy. And, you know, I've learned along the way, because I'll be honest and say that, like, you know, especially when you're younger, you just expect things to work.
And it doesn't.
No. And then
you have to put the work in.
Yeah. And as soon as, you know, a lot of times relationships end because as soon as it gets hard, somebody calls it quits. And it's like, you're never going to find a successful relationship that doesn't require work. It's good to let your partner know, like, what you think, what you want, and where you're at. Because otherwise you could spend forever with the wrong person that never intended to get married. So we talk about it. And
do you see yourself as like a more like a traditional woman sometimes, or like?
It's so weird because it's just because of who I am when I'm with him. Because before him, super independent. My mom raised me to like want to be independent. She was always like, go to school.
You don't need no man.
Yeah, go to school, get an education, get a job, and always work for yourself, so that if like no, you'll never have to depend on a man. You'll always be able to do it on your own. And so that was always my mindset. And, you know, I had a boyfriend in high school, and then a little after that didn't work out, ended terribly. But after that, like, I just worked on healing myself. It took longer than I'd hoped and expected, but then like I grew from that so much that I was like, I was okay with being on my own. I was fine with not having a boyfriend. Not like, I wanted to be okay with being in my own skin, and like being okay with who I am and where I am in life before I brought somebody else into that. And so I had a job. I worked my ass off all the time, and I put myself through college.
Oh yeah.
And but then I met him, and I don't know, my heart relaxed. Oh. It really did. I feel so relaxed with him.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me happy. Like,
yeah, he's.
It's like when you find your person, like, it doesn't have to be so hard.
It doesn't. You know, I've had a very good life. You know, I haven't had to really, really struggle or anything like that. But like, I had my guard up, and I only had myself and worried about myself, and and then I meet him, and it's like you would think after everything that I went through, I'm not trusting anybody again.
Yeah.
But I meet him, and that's all out the door.
Yeah. Heart on the sleeve type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's really, it's really one of the main reasons why, like, we talked about it. I wasn't happy with the field that I was in, and I didn't want to get back into it, but that's all that my experience is in banking, and I'm like, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to have to start over right now. So he's like, just take some time off and figure out what you want. And we revisit the conversation. I'm like, I don't know.
Honey, don't rush me.
Yeah, I don't know what I want. Like, and I think about going back to school, but I'm not a school person, so
like, you did it, you're done. See, I feel like I'm now back in school, and I love it. Like,
yeah,
I went to trade school, got my dental assistant certificate, been doing that. I wanted to be a dentist growing up, actually. That's what my all-time goal was. I wanted to be an oral surgeon, but life happens, whatever.
Yeah.
So I worked as a dental assistant for a long time, and I went to community college, like, in my early 20s, and I was, I wanted to go to hygiene school to be a hygienist. That was, like, the next step. But, like, my early 20s, girl, I was a mess. I was always out. Yeah. I was running those streets, hanging with the wrong crowds, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
Until, like, now, like, my current boyfriend, like, I met him at work. I met him when I was 21, and he, like I said, he's older than me, and we didn't, like, at first we were just coworkers, and then we developed, like, friendship. He was dating girls, I was dating guys, but we were just, like, really good friends.
Yeah.
And then, like, two years ago, it'll be 3 years in November, so 2021, we go out for drinks after work, and I had been crushing on this man.
Yeah.
But I was always, like, he was always dating someone, I was always dating somebody else, and we were both, like, just kind of figuring our out, like, and then, one thing led to another, and here we are.
Oh.
And it's honestly, it's been great. Like, we have our struggles, like, who doesn't in a relationship? Like, he lost his father, like, a couple years ago, so we had to deal with that obstacle. I had sobriety issues of other stuff, so we were dealing with that, and he had alcoholism is a huge thing, like drinking and not knowing when to not type of stuff. So we're both kind of, like, figuring our life out, but at the end of the day, it's like we're both here for each other. We're gonna support each other, but regardless of what struggle we're going through, like, we're not gonna judge each other, anything like that. Especially, like, I feel like we both just came from just two, like, hard life backgrounds, and I feel like having such a hard life, like, growing up into adulthood, can kind of just
it lingers.
Like, just goes into your adulthood. I used to be, like, very hard on myself, like, oh, you didn't do the things the right way, like, you didn't go to college, blah blah blah, like, but now as I'm getting older, I'm like, not everybody has the same path.
No.
And it's like I said earlier, 5 years ago, I was not okay. I was at a point where I almost didn't even want to be alive. Like, that's how bad life was.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think I was going to see 28.
Really?
Like, I didn't think I'd be here. And I'm so happy that I am.
Yeah.
Like, everything I've gone through, and to be where I'm at now, like, I'm not, like, am I poor? Sure. But I have savings, I have a car. I live in a nice area. I got a good job. I have a good boyfriend. I got 2 little kitties.
Yeah.
My babies. And it's like, haven't been this happy in a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's nice to feel happy.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I was capable of that. As sad as that sounds, it's like, I feel like you'll have, like, a dark cloud over your head for a long time. And
you get used to that being your life, so you don't think there's anything else.
There's no hope. But now I'm like, no, I can see myself in 10 years being happy and possibly married, maybe with a little kid or two. Like, I don't really know if I want kids, but I want kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, eh.
I know what you mean.
I'm like, but I'm like, a little baby.
Yeah.
A little baby would be cute. But I'm like, I'll get another cat. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I feel like so I've been in like, this is my fourth like serious relationship. So I had like my little high school boyfriend, yada yada, puppy love, blah blah blah. And then I had like my first kind of like adult relationship when I was like 18. I got engaged. I was engaged.
Yeah.
And that ended horribly. He was I'm not gonna say he was a bad guy, but he was a bad guy. He sucked. You know, he was just like, I was so young and naive too. Like I thought this was like the only guy I could ever get, you know, like he was cheating on me the entire time. Never once called me pretty. Like, you know what that does to your self-esteem?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like I always thought I was like not pretty. I always thought I was like ugly and stuff like that. First of all, I ain't ugly. But, you know, I was very self-conscious, you know. I had no self-esteem. And then we broke up, whatever. You know, I ended up cheating on him, which for me is like, I always had this thing, if you're going to cheat on someone, break up with them. You know, and when I was in that position where I did it to somebody, even though he had done it to me multiple times, I was like, I can't be with him. If I truly love somebody, you won't cheat on them. That's like the ultimate betrayal to me.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, and me being somebody that I was like, I'll never do that. I did it. And I was like, well, I can't be with him because why would I do that? Even though I love him, but he's treated me so badly all of these years, and I ended up doing that to him. Like, no, like, I don't want to be with him. We ended up breaking up. Awful breakup, whatever. And I spiraled, blah, 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 blah. Then I started dating this other guy who was older than me. He was a drug dealer. There's all of that to deal with, you know. I wasn't dating him because I liked him. Let's just say that. Toxic, super toxic relationship, you know, and prime years of my life wasted.
Yeah.
But that relationship taught me a lot, I would say, you know. He sucked too, manipulative, and all of that, but he did help me to learn how to manage my money. So learned that from him. But, you know, he was a manipulator, yada yada. We broke up, and then I started dating Robert, who's my boyfriend now, who has known me through all of those relationships. So he met me when I was engaged and going through that, having no self-confidence. He got to see me kind of blossom into a confident young woman, then to having that confidence taken away again by another man, to who I am now. And we've also had our obstacles too. Like, we've gone through a lot in these last 2 years, but I'm like, this is not one of those relationships, like you said earlier, I can't not put the work in. You know, if this is going to be my life partner, there's work to be put in.
Yeah.
You know, we're both like, even though we have a 12-year age difference, he is still also bettering himself and figuring himself out, you know. The fact that we can just both be here for each other and grow together is a beautiful thing, you know. The fact that I want to talk to him every day, you know, because so like working at a restaurant, I see a lot of like couples, whatever, and they're just sitting there and they don't talk to each other. I don't ever want to be that person that is sitting with their partner and you don't even say a word.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, that's sad.
I do wonder, though. I wonder if, like, after a certain amount of years, now, if they're younger and you're like, you know, maybe they're recently together, then you're just like, already? But like, you know, maybe if they're older, they enjoy their company and not so worried about having to have conversations. But I'm the same way too, though. If we go out to a restaurant and I'll checking something on my phone and he'll be on his phone and all we're doing is on our phones, I'll put my phone down. I'm like, all right, have a conversation with me. I don't want to just be on our phones.
Yeah, and it, like, you know, that's like that happens. Like, we're all glued to our phones honestly.
Yeah.
But I have seen some people where I'm just like, y'all really just don't look in love anymore. You know, and I tell my boyfriend that too. I'm like, I never want to be that. Like, if you ever feel at some point in time like that you're not in love with me anymore, then just let's communicate. Let's figure this out, which I doubt it, like, because who wouldn't be in love with me? That's me being self-absorbed. But you know, it's like I never I tell him all the time, I'm like, you're my forever person. If we ever break up, I will never put the time and energy again.
That's me.
I'm like, I don't think I have it. Like, dating sucks, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's so difficult. So like I say the same thing. I'm like, if you ever decide that you don't want to be in this relationship anymore, or if like God forbid something happened to you, I'm not doing this again.
No.
You were my person, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm like, I've poured everything into you. Like, I've poured, like, this man has seen me at my worst and at my best and everything in between. Like, I don't think I could let this man see me without makeup on. He sees me in the morning.
See,
I'm like,
that's another thing. You know, you're so used to being with them. They see you at all like levels, and having to get comfortable with someone again is
sucks. No. Like, I can't. Like, I'll have like, you know, those like sad days, like where you just like don't take a shower or anything like that. I'll be like, do you still love me?
Yeah.
I'll be like, if I was a worm, would you still love me? And he looks at me like, no, not if you're a worm. But for the sake of this, yes, I will still love you if you're a worm.
Yeah. Like, if you turned into a worm, I will build a little...
There we go. Build me a little worm nest. So you still love me.
Carry me in your pocket.
I'll just like, hi, I'm still here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're your person. So I think it's okay to say, hey, this is it for me.
I'm like, I love being in love.
Yeah, me too.
And that's what, when I was asking earlier, like, do you see yourself like a traditional woman? I don't know. That's a very broad topic, I guess. But like, for me, it's like, I love being at home, and I love like cooking him dinner. I love cooking too. Just in general, I love cooking. I'm a little chef at home. But I love making him dinner and making him food, and like, so the restaurant I work at, we did some remodeling earlier this year, and we were closed for about 4 weeks. I was pretending I was a stay-at-home housewife the entire time. I was cleaning. I was wearing my little, what's it called? The little apron.
Yeah.
I was baking. I don't bake. What the I made red velvet cookies. Those were good.
Oh my goodness.
But I was like, I'm pretending to be a housewife, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm not a cook. I cannot get myself to enjoy cooking. I struggle, but like, I do enjoy, you know, I'll make breakfast, and I love like making him something that I know that he's gonna enjoy. Yeah. And I do enjoy keeping my house clean. There are days that like I'm super busy with the podcast or with my online shop stuff that like I just don't get around to it. But you know, that is one of, you know, and it's one of our agreements. Like, if I'm not working, it's my responsibility to, you know, keep up with the house and the dishes. And he knows that I don't like to cook, but he appreciates it a lot whenever I'm like, oh, I'm going to make him something. I'm going to put something together. And he knows that I'm not very good. But, you know.
He's like, thank you, babe.
Yeah. Thank you for my burnt...
My burnt pancakes. You know, I do suck at making pancakes. I tried making my boyfriend pancakes once, and I burnt it. Oh. I was like, sorry.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I guess like for me personally, I don't enjoy it, so I'm gonna suck at it. Like, you know. But yeah, I do enjoy doing things for him, and looking out for him, and but like, I also enjoy being busy. So like, you know, with this podcast, I'm like, I'm doing something for myself too at the same time. I'm not just living for somebody.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I like being like an independent woman, even though I joke with my boyfriend a lot. Like, oh, if I'm ever if I ever have a kid, I'll be a stay-at-home mom. But I'm like, oh, I like working. I like working, and that's just me. Like, I love being at work. I love taking care of people. I like bartending. When I was working at the dentist's office, I loved taking care of patients and making people feel good. And that might just be part of me in general. Like, I like taking care of people.
Yeah.
So I like taking care of my man.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with it. So there's nothing wrong with wanting to be someone that wants to work. You want to work, you want your career, and you also want that relationship, and you you have to find that person that's going to support you. Don't, if that's who you are, don't be with someone who wants you at home. Don't let them say, hey, now that we're married, you can stay home. Like, no, you knew you were getting married to a career-driven woman. Deal with it.
Yeah, like, I'm not just staying at home.
Yeah, but it's also okay to want to be a stay-at-home wife, a stay-at-home
There's
mom.
nothing wrong with that either, because that is still a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
Like, taking care of hooligans, I would smack them with my chancla.
Yeah, I know. I know, sometimes I lose my patience with my dogs. I'm like, shut up.
I feel like that with my cat. One of my cats meows too much, and I'm like, Bubba's. Mommy has a headache. Shut up.
Yeah.
Imagine a whiny baby.
I know. I'll be like, shut up. And then I'm going to realize that's my child.
We're
and
like,
it's going to be looking at me like, okay.
Mommy, what did I do? What did I do, Mom?
Yeah, that's why sometimes, like, I think about it and I'm like, I have to be sure that if I want to be a mom, that I'm 100% sure of that. Like, now I'm not going to be 100% ready. I'm going to learn along the way, but I want to be sure that I'm ready to be a mom because I want to be a good mom. I don't want to, I don't want to fail them, and I don't want to end up being a mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, this might be a deep topic, but I actually was pregnant once.
Yeah.
I actually got an abortion.
Really?
I was 22 when it happened, and during that time, when I said my life was a show, it sure was. And that was a situation I had never ever pictured myself in. I always thought, like, I'm not like anti or pro or whatever. I'm like, do what you have to do. Your body is your choice. Do what you have to do best for you. Do I think everybody should have an abortion? Like, you shouldn't go have one left and right. No, that's awful. Don't do that. But like, when you're in a situation where you don't know what to do, like at that time, like I was abusing like drugs and stuff like that. I didn't know who the dad was. Like, I was a mess. Like, I was living recklessly and carelessly. Like, I didn't even care.
Yeah.
And then when it happened, I was like, I can't. I was like, there is no way I'm going to be a mother right now. I'm lost. I'm confused. I barely have the will to live. Like, I can't bring a child into this world when I can barely take care of myself.
Yeah.
And it was very, like, early in the pregnancy that I was able to get it done, and it was probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do.
Yeah,
because like I said, I've never saw myself having to do that. I'm a woman supporter, and I'm like, do what you have to do what's best for you. I'm never gonna judge somebody, but I'll never have one. I'm never gonna do that.
Yeah.
And then I was in that situation. I was like, I have to do this, you know. Like, I was so far and gone at that point. Like, there was no way I could raise a child, you know? And now I tell myself, if I were to get pregnant, like, I'm going to have it. Obviously, me and my boyfriend now, like, I'm not on birth control or anything, so it's almost recklessly. If it happens, it happens. But I'm in a way better position in life, like, where I can bring a child into this world if I were to get pregnant.
Yeah.
But now it's like, when I had that happen, like, it took a long time and a lot of healing, because I was very angry at myself for a long time. I was like, what the did you do? You can't go back now.
Yeah, that's something that people don't realize, those that are against abortion and want everybody else to be against it too. It's not an easy decision. It didn't come to you lightly. You didn't make it on a, like, just,
oh, let me just go do this for fun.
Yeah.
No, nobody does that for fun.
It's not stopping at Starbucks for a coffee. So it like, they fail to understand that if you made that decision, it wasn't an easy one. It was hard, and you're always going to carry that with you.
No, I do. And I do till this day. I'm just like, I'm like, the anniversary of it will be June 5th, actually, of when I had the procedure done. And it's still like, till this day, I feel some type of way. Cause I'm like, I was like a kid, you know, like I was young when that happened, and it was a scary time. So that's what I'm an open book, girl.
Yeah. See, I've been pregnant twice in my life, and they both ended in miscarriages. But that first time, I wasn't ready. The second time was with my current boyfriend, and we weren't expecting it, but we quickly were like, okay, we got this. And but the first time, no, I was younger, and I was scared. I was terrified. I was terrified of what my parents would think. I was terrified of what everybody else around me were gonna say, and I wasn't happy. I cried a lot, and at the time, I guess I just thought my only option was to have it. Yeah. You know, and I was super depressed, and that might have been what caused the miscarriage. I was not in a good place, and I was scared. And I was, at first, you know, miscarriages are super painful no matter what stage you're at. But after I healed, I was a little relieved, you know, because I was so young and I wasn't ready. And, I was relieved, you know. It's hard to say, but at the same time, you know, and especially now that I'm older, I wonder, you know, I do wonder, you know, what would have happened, how old, you know, my child would be now. Would it have been a boy or a girl, you know, because I wonder that about my second one too. But, and the second one did hurt a little bit more because I was more accepting of it, and I was older, and
you're like getting mentally prepared for that.
And, you know, the way that we found out the second time is I went to my OB, and I just was like, okay, you know, I scheduled it. He's like, you know, at 8 weeks, come in. We went in, and he does the ultrasound, and he's like, you know, the fetus isn't as big as it should be. You're at 8 weeks. It looks like you're at 6. You're probably going to have a miscarriage here in a couple of weeks. And sure enough, like a few days later, I did end up having the miscarriage. And so that was more difficult because I was you know, older and more ready, and we talked about it, and we were both really excited. But together we just, you know, got through it, and we didn't try again though. You know, after that we were more careful, and we were like, you know what, let's just make sure when this does happen again, that we're ready, and that we will have the ability to be able to try it, because I've learned that, like, it's not gonna, like, if I do decide, it's not going to be easy for me to get pregnant. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of work that's going to go into it. So we definitely want to make sure we're 100% there, you know. So, you know, I've experienced that in my life, but I've never going to side with the, you know, people trying to tell women what to do with their own bodies.
Especially when it's like a bunch of men.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, get out of here.
Regulate your own body.
Seriously. Like what are you telling me to regulate with my body? Like, get the out of here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they say, a woman can get pregnant once every 9 months you have to carry the baby for 9 months. What in those 9 months, that man that got you pregnant there's an endless amount of women he could impregnate.
No, literally. It's like, it's just crazy that when it comes to like women regulations, it's majority of the time a bunch of men making the decision. Yeah. It's like, do you have a vagina, sir?
Yeah. No,
you don't.
The other day I was reading, and I don't know, I can't even remember like what state, but there is a state that is trying to the birth rates are low, so they're trying to like basically force women.
I think I saw that
to have families. It's like
there's a reason why we're not doing it, because you guys like are awful to us. So no.
Yeah, you want people to be able to afford to have children in the economy as it is, and you want them to bring children into this world where you can't even have good enough gun control to protect our children at school. Like, there are a lot of people that have decided to not bring children into this world for those reasons.
No, I would say I'm probably one of those people. Like I said, if I get pregnant, I get pregnant, but I'm not actively trying to have a kid, because I just think this world is so messed up as it is. Like, what happens if I leave the world, unfortunately, and my child is still like a child, and I'm not there to take care of them?
Yeah.
Who's going to take care of them? Who's going to have their back? Nobody is. I don't feel like it, because this is such an unsafe world. Like, I have, like, with all the shootings that happen a lot of these days, like, I get anxiety. Like, even that's why I hate leaving my house sometimes, because like, people are crazy. Like, people are nuts, and it's like, you guys can't get people under control. These people with guns that are going out and like how you want people to bring more children into this world? No.
No. Yeah. I agree. Like, I can't. I don't know. It's scary. If I'm scared to go out, I can't. I love
going to concerts and shows, right? I love doing that. It's a very public event. And I always, till this day, have some sort of like underlining anxiety. Like, what if something bad happens?
Yeah.
And that is like such a sad thing. Like, having that thought in your head all the time. Like, yeah. I remember, so we were probably in high school around the same time, but do you remember that incident about the guy who was at the movie theater and like, for The Dark Knight?
Oh, in Colorado.
Literally, so I was like, 16, 17 when that happened. I love going to the movies. Every time I go to the movies now, almost a decade later, I have that underlining thought. What if there's someone in here with malintent?
Yeah. I go through the same thing. I will look, like, I'll literally be sitting there enjoying the movie, and then I'll be like, wait a minute, where's the exit? Where's the nearest exit? Like, I need to know where it's at, because I need to be prepared. And like, I'll sit there and think, okay, if somebody comes in, I need to make sure that I tell whoever's with me to get down. Like, I'm literally planning in my head how I'm going to react to that situation.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you can't just enjoy the movie because of something that happened 15 years ago. And like, anytime I see anything about the Uvalde shootings,
that was that school shooting, right?
Yeah, and my grandpa lives in Uvalde, and so when that happened, that was like
close to home
for me, and it was so sad. I still see stuff on my TikTok about, the family still grieving and still going through their grieving process, and I get so mad. I get mad that like the cops didn't do anything, that they took forever to respond, and it's like, you are literally there to
serve and protect.
And that you took the oath of doing that, even if it cost you your life, and you couldn't do that for children. And like, oh my gosh, it gets me going.
And it's like, and that's why it's like, I wouldn't want to have a kid, you know? Like,
Yeah.
school's supposed to be a safe space for these children to go and learn. And there's always that underlining thought that something could happen.
Yeah, so like if you have the fear when you go to concerts, when you go to movies, once you have that child, all you are going to think about while they're in school is my child okay? Has something happened today? I wouldn't get any sleep.
I low-key am like, I would homeschool my children. My mom homeschooled me for a little bit at some point.
Yeah.
But then she had to work, so it didn't really work out. But like if I had the means and the opportunity and the funds or whatever it takes, I would probably homeschool my kids.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want a work from home job. I don't want to go to work no more.
Yeah.
I want to be in my cave.
I know.
It's safe in here.
Yeah, you don't got to worry about anything. But even then, like, a few years ago, I think this was in like 21, I was followed home by some crazy man. And to this day, that has me up so much that I can't do a lot of things. And I didn't realize, so when it happened, I still lived in Brownwood, where I'm from, and I was already with Tyler at the time. We lived in this little tiny apartment, and I had a Mustang, and it was a blue one. So even after that, I was like, I might need to get rid of my car. My car stands out. You know it's me. But I was going home for lunch, and I was having to make a left, and this was on a busier road, and it was just a regular left turn. So like there was 4 lanes and a median lane. So I jumped into the median lane and I waited to make my left turn because I had to wait on the oncoming traffic. Well, when I did that, there was quite a bit of traffic. There was this man that honked at me and got behind me and was throwing his hands up in the air and was just honking, and I was like, oh, did I cut him off? Did I pissed him off somehow? I did something I didn't notice. If I cut him off, I didn't realize that I did. So I was kind of I did get upset, and I was like, oh, did I do something? And so then I made my left turn, and then he turned left, and I was like, maybe I cut him off while I got into the median. And so then I was just kind of watching. I was like, I pissed him off. I don't want him to like rear end me or something. And my apartment complex was literally the next left. Like the moment I was making a left when I noticed that he was behind me. And then I just had one more left turn to make into the complex. But like when I got close, I saw that he was still behind me. And so I turned and I called Tyler, and I said, I think somebody's following me. I'm like, I think I may have done something, pissed him off or something, but he is following me. I'm like, I didn't think so. I think maybe at first I thought, oh, he's going in the same direction, but then I turned into my apartment complex and he turned too, and I'm like, he doesn't live here. It was such a small complex. There's like 6 buildings total. Yeah. So I knew all the cars. I was familiar with the cars that were there. I'm like, he does not live here. So I called him and I said, I'm not getting out of my car. Can you please come here? Because like I parked and he parked right beside me. And let me tell you, he struggled. He was like drunk or on drugs or something. He struggled to park. And I sat in my car. And
did he approach you?
He didn't get out of the car right away. But Tyler came out. Thank God, he's worked from home because he was there. And Tyler came out and he started, approaching him, and at the same time recording the whole thing and recording his car, like the license plate and stuff. And he's like, can we help you? Like, what are you doing? And he was inebriated. Who knows what the he was saying, and I was terrified in my car. And I remember when he was behind me throwing signs, afterwards I realized that he was pointing at me and he was pointing into his car, like he was saying, get in. And it was weird. It was was so scary. And when Tyler was talking to him, he's like, well, I've been looking for her everywhere, and she needs to come with me. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know who
like,
this
who
person
is.
And so Tyler was like, well, she's not going anywhere with you. You need to leave before I call the police. Eventually, he leaves, and we do end up calling the police, and they were familiar with him. They're like, yeah, he's been an issue before. And it's like, of course he's been an issue before. And she's like, I'll find him and let him know not to be coming around here anymore. I'm like, I'm terrified because he now knows where I live.
Yeah.
And she was right, you know. She did say, you know, if somebody's following you, don't ever come home. And like, I know that, but
when you're like in panic, where do you go?
Yeah.
Especially like you're trying to get to your person to help you.
That's all I was thinking. And also, like, I just thought he was turning in the same direction as me. I didn't have very many turns left to make to like figure that out. And now that I think about it, I'm like, well, maybe I should have gone straight and around the corner. But yeah,
that's so crazy. Actually, my friend had a similar story to happen to her last week.
Really,
literally last week. She was so my friend, she's a single mom and she was taking her kid to school. She's like driving in like the parking lot, and then this car is like backing out, and she honked like, hey, I'm driving, like, don't pull into me, like, you know, like, you have to wait till the road's clear to back out or whatever. Apparently this car started following her around, and then like getting in front of her, like zigzagging. He got out of his car and was like yelling at her. She called like the police. She didn't drive home because the school's like not even half a mile away from her house, so she's just driving in a residential area.
I'm
like, people are crazy.
They're crazy.
She sent me a picture, and like, you know, on iPhones it's a live photo, and I like clicked on it, and he's just like,
that's like, insane. You can't honk at anybody anymore. You can't react in any way because they will lose their
like, you need to go to therapy.
Yeah, and it's honestly it's always been a thing, because I remember my sister, she was probably like 19, 20 at the time. She accidentally cut somebody off, and I remember she had just dropped me off at work because we shared a car, and she was headed home, and she, I guess, accidentally cut somebody off, and the dude, they were at a stoplight, and the dude gets off of his truck. She's 19 years old, and this man felt the need to get off of his truck and go up to her window and start banging on her window and yelling at her.
What's the common thing in this? They're all men.
Jeez.
I'm like, some of these guys, like my friend was telling me about this. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's like, I'll choose the bear. I didn't really know about that until she explained it to me, like being like alone in the forest, would you choose the man or the bear? And I'm like, you know what, at this point I would choose the bear, because I'm just like, some of these guys, like some of these men out there are just, they're awful. And I hate to like stereotype, but I'm like, some of y'all suck. Some of y'all really are just trash. Like, I had this guy at work the other day, and I'm like, what gives you the right to say a very inappropriate sexual comment to me while I'm at work? I had my little oven mitt in my back pocket. I had 2 of them in both of my back pockets. Like, whatever, it's the end of the night. Like, I took my apron off, and this old man was like, do you think your ass is that hot to wear both of your mittens in the back of your pocket or whatever?
Oh my God.
And I was like, yeah, actually I am that hot, for your information, and you don't have a chance. Like, no. Like, what, like, some of these guys out there are just,
they're disgusting.
Yeah. And it's like, when you have a good, like, when you have a good, like, partner that's going to protect you, that's why I feel safe with, like, my boyfriend. But this world is so crazy. Like, you can't trust no one nowadays. No. You really can't. No. You always have to be, like, with your guard up, and it sucks. I'm so stressed out because of that.
Yeah, because like, it's terrifying, the world we live in. We can't, God, as a woman, you can't just walk out of the door and not think about the things that could possibly go wrong.
No, I made it, even though I would say this general area that we live in is a pretty safe area. So I live at those apartments over there by Walgreens. But one night I was throwing the trash away. It was night, it was like 9 o'clock, and my dumpsters just walk a little bit. There it is. And there was like these weird, creepy guys like by our dumpster. And I instantly just felt like I don't feel safe. Yeah. And like they were like they were like also like almost telling me to go behind the dumpster. And I was like, who the are you guys? Like, y'all don't live here. Like, well, I don't know if they do, but I'm like, And I'm wearing like my pajamas. I'm wearing like shorts and a t-shirt. I'm just like flip-flops. Like I can't run in my flip-flops. I'm like, So like I freaked out, got home. Yeah. But yeah, I told my boyfriend, I was like, yeah, that was weird. So now we have a rule. I don't throw away the trash at night. Yeah. Because I'm like, danger zone.
That's scary.
I'm like, it's a scary world out there. I don't like it.
I know. Me either. And you have one bad experience, and it's something you're going to carry.
Yeah, it makes everything else feel like it's going to be a bad experience, too. Like, it's crazy.
We talked about, the way that you grew up with your single mom, and, she was an immigrant, and, the way you navigate your life now and everything that you've had to overcome also. Is there anything that you would, give as a tip or advice to other Latinas that might be going through similar situations that you've experienced, that maybe haven't figured out how to get out of the bad moments in life? Or
I know this probably sounds very, very, very cliche, but I'm like, it gets better. Life gets better as long as you just keep your head up, try not to dwell on the bad that happens. It can get better. And I know it's such a cliche,
but it's true.
And now that I'm 28, I remember people who were 28, 30 years old when I was 21, 22, so lost, so confused, so full of anger, hate, whatever, from everything from childhood to adolescent to young adulthood. And these other women tell me it's gonna get better. It really does. Here I am now, and I'm in such a good place in life.
So that light at the end of the tunnel
my first name is Luz, so
see, there you go.
I'm the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I agree with that though. It is hard because when you're young, you don't want somebody saying, oh, you'll be fine. But as long as you fight for what you want and you have that willpower to keep going, it's gonna be worth it in the end. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
This is so fun.
Literally, I had the best time.
Yes, and
all the cheese met today.
Yes, and I'd love to have you again sometime. But yes, again, thank you so much for being here. It was so good to meet you.
Too. I feel like we're besties now. I know. I'm like, all right, so cocktails.
Yeah, the vibe was good.
The vibes were vibing. Yeah. The vibes were vibing today. Yeah, exactly. I loved it. It was fun.
And to my listeners and viewers, if you are still here, thank you so much for being here and for tuning into this episode. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and my podcast. I am available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Thank you for tuning in. Hasta la próxima.